let's get into the third mode of the major scale, which is the Phrygian mode. As you heard from that little bit I played in the beginning, the Phrygian mode has a very distinct sound. It's actually very exotic, very Eastern sounding. Really, really cool. It definitely establishes a mood of its own. So let's break this down. What we're gonna do is we have our low E, so this is gonna be key of E again. And then we're starting with our root note. That's obviously gonna stay the same, right? Because that's what makes it the key of E. But what happens next, the very next note we're gonna do is actually gonna be different. We're now gonna be playing a flat second. Ooh, talk about tension, right? All right, so we have our second, which would normally be here on the 9th fret, right, of the A string. Now it's on the 8th fret, so we're doing 7, 8, and then 10. So we have that flat third, right, that minor third. So we have 7, 8, 10, and then we have 7 on D, 9, so our 4th and our 5th are the same, and then we have a flat 6th, and then we have a flat 7. So multiple notes have changed here. We've essentially turned this into a minor scale, but changed that second note, which I don't want to get ahead of myself because we're going to talk about the minor scale, which is the Aeolian mode, in a couple videos, but just to show you how much of a departure it is from the major scale, right, which is what the reference point behind everything, which even just playing it right next to the Phrygian mode like that, it's such a refreshing, like kind of different, it's like such a different sound. You can really hear the contrast, right? So we have the roots the same, flat second, flat third, 4th and 5th are the same, flat 6th, flat 7. So when I refer to it as a flat, right, we're literally like flattening the note, the natural note that would be in the major scale. We're flattening that down a fret, right, 1 fret. Also, if I call it minor second and flat 7 are synonymous. Minor 7th, flat 7th synonymous, right? So whenever you're flattening a note, you're essentially making it minor in this case. So we have 7, 8, 10 as far as the fret numbers, 7, 9, 10, and then 7, 9 on the G string. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 octave. All the notes we need just to get used to this mode, right? I know I've said this already in the last 2 videos about the modes, but the reason that we are introducing ourselves to the modes in this way is to get our ears acquainted with them. Because before you start learning how to play them all over the fretboard or how to play them in different keys, just learn how to get acquainted with them just in one key, real simple with no backing. Just your droned low E string. So it's just you and your guitar. Like, it can't get more intimate than that if you're really trying to get to know a scale. So that's the reasoning behind this. There is a method to all this madness. So anyway, continuing on, just like with the other modes, right? We're gonna wander through the scale and we're gonna find the notes that kind of specifically clash and give us certain emotions or feelings, right? So it's like when you play every single note in the scale, play that low E so you can hear the tension, right? Very different from both the Dorian and the Ionian modes, right? It's got its own mood. So yeah, if we wander through it, it sounds like the soundtrack to a movie, like. So when you get used to the mode in that kind of way, you can start to, ideas will just kind of happen. So even right there, what I was doing, I was just kind of improvising through it. I would wander, play certain notes, it would inspire an idea, and then it would sort of take me in a direction where I want it to go. Where it's almost like I'm writing out the melody I'm hearing in my head first, and then finding it with those notes. And that's actually a very, very useful skill to have when it comes to improvising. You want to be able to create a melody in your head first and then play it, rather than just being on this kind of automatic, autopilot, but that doesn't really have musical control. It's really just your fingers that are on autopilot more than your mind as far as coming up with melodies and stuff. So you want to be able to play what's in your head. And sometimes we kind of need some help to get those ideas going in our head. So that's why doing something like wandering through the scale is a very useful little trick, because it breaks whatever pattern and whatever habitual way that you would normally go about the scale. And then it just, kind of forces you to come up with interesting new ideas. So you can do it all, you can break it up all kinds of ways. There's really no rules when it comes to wandering. You can go like, and play them in a weird order. Just go, don't necessarily do that. I was kind of being silly there, but just kind of showing you how when you get familiar enough with the scale, you can do that. You can just kind of like hodgepodge your way through it, and then take note of certain moments when you're like, oh, wait a second, I really liked how those two notes sounded together. Pretty, right? It's got it's a really mysterious sound, right? In fact, get this, right? If I were to play a note like this, play that series of notes, what are you hearing in your head? You can even sing it out loud. Maybe it was that note, or maybe it was. There's all kinds of ways that you can go with it. So when you start off by finding a couple notes that you like, then you're like thinking to yourself, okay, where do I want it to go? Like, there it is. Right? I'm kind of simulating how it's gonna look. And it's a really fun exercise, because you don't have to be a good singer. I'm certainly not, but it's like I try to find the pitch in my head, and I try to find the note. It's actually a great, like I said, a great skill to build up for yourself, to where eventually you're going to be able to simultaneously sing a phrase in your head, maybe even not even out loud, but just in your head, but you'll know exactly how to bring it about on your fretboard. And before you get too excited and want to throw on like an E Phrygian backing track on YouTube or something, right? I mean, not going to tell you not to do that, but just in the beginning, really just let it be you and your guitar. Because I'm telling you, that's going to be very, very useful for ear training, just making it very bare bones, as simple as you can get, as intimate as you can get with it. And then just take note of the tension you hear with every note of the scale in relation to the root note, because that's what establishes the musical context, right? And when you start coming up with your own phrases, or when you're wandering through it, the possibilities are endless. So you start there, let that kind of be your little playground, and then when you have some ideas, you're like, okay, I want to try these in action. So then you can throw on a backing track, or even play along to your favorite record that happens to be in that key, and then just play over that. And then you'll really hear them come to life. So with all that said, what do you say we move on to the next mode in this series, which happens to be one of my personal favorites, the Lydian mode.